Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another Move to CEO. I'm live with Kai over here. Hello. Hi, Kai.
Oh, hello.
Oh, my.
We're having some
We're having lots
difficulties
of
today,
tech
so
difficulties.
enjoy, everyone.
Enjoy. Yes, absolutely. But we will not be diverted from what we want to share with you guys. So today we are talking about, we're doing marketing Q&A. So we've done coaching quickies, and you guys have met some really awesome people, and we've solved some big marketing problems. So again, today we are back to solve another problem, and we have Mary, who is coming in eventually here. Okay, there we go. Hi, Mary.
Hello.
Hi. So, Mary, you're with Mosaic. Can you tell us about Mosaic really quickly so we can just learn what this is?
Of course. Yes. Thanks for having me on. So Mosaic is an app that I am developing that is a communication app that allows you to talk with your people, like your circle, your group. It could be just your spouse or your best friend, or it could be your immediate family, your cousins, a mom group, whoever you want that to be, but it's invitation only and it's private. And there's a lot of communication apps out there, but this is a little different in that the core of it is a perpetual calendar. And this can be used like any calendar where you invite people to a birthday party, or you remember an anniversary or things like that. But what it's different about it is that it's a perpetual calendar. So what I'm trying to do is get people to, as they're living their busy life, is to notice the things that they love, like a unique, lovely moment you might have with a child, a funny thing somebody says to you, a joke you love, just anything that causes you to pause in your day and say, wow, that was cool, or I got to remember that. And you put it on this perpetual calendar, and you save it. So being perpetual, it's going to be back next year. Like it'll just come back. That little memory, that little,
I love
what I like to call them gems, great everyday moments. It's a gem. It'll be back for you to see it for many years to come, as many as you want. And with as doing that, I feel like it's a way to, I've been doing this for years. So it helps you to slow down time. Things kind of slow down because you see, oh yeah, life is going so fast, but I still have those fun memories, or the sometimes sad memories that come back, and you get to read them every year. And so I feel like my target audience, I believe a lot of people would like it, but really target is the women or parents, young parents with little kids, because you look at the Facebook posts that are happening right now with they're going to school, the little kindergartners are going, and like everyone's saying life is going so fast, how can I slow this down? And I just think that it would be awesome if people could learn to just kind of record little things as the time goes on. Not everybody has time to do journaling at night or put those beautiful scrapbooks together, but we can learn to do quick little gems throughout the day. They're in your calendar. They're never going to be gone. Then you can share them with the people in your group that you want, like your family, the grandmas and grandpas, and and anybody who would find joy from what you just saved.
Right. So it's kind of like, so it reminds me of, I have a WhatsApp thread, like a text message thread. And it's a group of my friends that I've known from high school and college. And we'll send pictures of our kids, or we'll tell funny stories in there. But I can't keep that. And it's not going to remind me of a story I told last year. So what this is, it's really your closest friends, people that you trust to, share your family's everyday, treasured moments with, and that you want them to be a part of your family's life. But it also is a way to remember those small things, right? Like, and I think of that all the time. As a mom, I always say to myself, man, I hope that I remember this. And it's like, if there was that app to write it, like, oh, this was the day that, and you take a picture sometimes, but then the pictures get lost on your phone. Maybe it goes onto Facebook, but it's like, okay, there it is. And unless Facebook reminds me, and it chooses to remind me at some point, I'm really not going to remember, right, that this thing happened. And so, yeah, I think that's such a beautiful app.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes. And I know that I have mentioned this to Mary before, but I used to do this in a database form to try to keep a memory log. And so I am 100% in love with this idea. But I think the big picture of what you wanted to come on today and how we can help you is that you want more people to be ready and waiting for this app to come out, because it's not out yet, right?
Correct.
So how do you build, I think the question that that we had talked about was, how do I build my audience early so that they are ready and willing when the app gets launched, right?
Yes, that's exactly true. Right.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Well, first of all, I will put in the link to the website. So you did the first thing, which is have a lead capture form on your website. So yay on that. You got the mechanism to capture some leads. That's it. That's probably step one, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yes.
But Kai's going to go into some more for you.
Right. So, we know Mary because we coached with her in our Move to CEO group. So we've been helping her kind of build her funnel. But so I think the hardest part that people have is filling a funnel. Yes, everything else is difficult too. But like the hardest part, and probably one of the most important first steps, is how do I fill that funnel? And especially the women that we have right now in our group, they are all app focused. So Mary, for you, it's an app. And so it's not necessarily ready yet. So it's kind of like, how do I get people to come when there is nothing to come to, right? And so this is the same thing I would say for anybody who is building their business, but they weren't necessarily ready to sell yet. It's going to be the same strategy. And really what it comes down to at the end of the day is, how are you growing your audience? And not only how are you showing up, right, on Instagram or Facebook or wherever it is that your audience is, but how are you actively going out, gathering them and bringing them back? And that's what a lot of us miss. We think, okay, we're going to go on this social media platform. We're going to start posting these cool things and cool ideas. And then people are going to love the idea. And it's like, it's just not the way that it works. You're fighting against the algorithm. You're fighting against like people's busy lives. You're fighting against when are they getting in and when did you post it? Because they may not see it, right? Because they're missing when you posted it or whatever it is. So there's so many things that get in the way. So really what I tell people is, you should always do social media wherever your audience is. You don't have to do all of them, but you should be in the place where your audience wants to hang out, your ideal audience, which we call your muse. And be creating content there that they want to consume. That's like the first thing, right? That's kind of like where you're gathering them, whether that's your website or your social media. I think social media is great just because you can continue to have an ongoing relationship with them. Whereas on your website, it's kind of like, especially if you don't have anything yet to sell or anything to give them yet, then it's kind of just getting them over. You're hoping to capture their email or whatever, but it may not happen. And then what? Right. So I love that, but you can do the same thing on social media, right? You can always have a link that is a lead capture. So I say when you're in this stage, that's where I would be bringing people back, is to your social media page, because that's where you're kind of creating that content and where you can continue to nurture and grow a relationship and educate them on what it is that you do. Now, the other part is, the most important part that people forget, is the gathering people and bringing them over, right?
Going to get them, as opposed to just hoping, because social media is 4% of your target audience. And this is probably an old stat now. I bet it's lower even. But about 4% of your target audience, that your base of people will see any post at any given time. That's your followers. So 4% of the followers on that channel will see that post at that given time. So you actually have to produce a lot of content or be out there a lot. But Kai and I are non-social people. Like, we don't love being on social. We do because that's our job. We do
funny,
have
right?
to. We have to. And we teach how to do it with the least amount of effort possible. But there are ways like ads can generate traffic to a specific audience, that exact audience. Or you can do, we've talked about LinkedIn social selling, outreach to your exact target audience over on LinkedIn. You can, go into DMs in a group and start building, or into a group and start building a relationship with people over there too. And I know you have a couple others, Kai, too, I think.
Oh, well, for you, Mary, specifically, because of what you're doing, it would make sense for you to try to be getting onto podcasts or blogs where you are talking to, parenting podcasts, or same thing with the blogs, right? Parenting blogs, or anything where maybe it's scrapbooking, like those kinds of things. Those would be great audiences for you, because these are people who are coming from this perspective of, I want to capture these memories. Those would be the
Yes.
parenting blogs. Like, how do I remember these little things, right? And you could be in there. You're not necessarily talking about like, hey, you're going to do this in my app, but you could be just like in our group when you tell us all the things you used to do manually. You could
Yes.
be showing those things and saying like, hey, this is what I used to do. And, we're going to have an app coming out that will help you do these things. So you're not having to keep these index cards or any of that stuff, right? But you could be sharing with them ways that you have done it, why it matters, like how have you gotten those aha moments, how it's changed your life to be able to do that, or share that. Like, hey, do you remember this when you were 5? Like, I have this, right, with your kid. And they're like, wow, that's so cool that you actually remember that, Mom, right? And then there's also the scrapbooking. These are people who are taking these memories and putting it into a scrapbook, right? But when you do a scrapbook, it's not like you leave it for 20 years. Here's one picture, you come back and you do the next one, and you come back and like on the same exact day, right? Like, that's not how scrapbooking works. So what are other ways that they can also keep those memories alive, right? And how could they do that? So that's just something that I would say those would be your people, and I would be aggressively targeting those people. And I say aggressively, so please, guys, don't think that I'm meaning like, you're gonna like kick down their doors, but aggressively as in what'd you say?
Consistently and
Yeah.
intentionally
Yeah.
going out to find them.
Yes. That's
Aggressively.
what I mean by aggressively, like going
I love
after it, right? So would you know how to do that, or should I share with you how you might pursue them?
Like podcasts and blogs. I'm not okay. Podcast, I don't know how to do that. I wouldn't
Okay.
know where
So
to
what
start.
I personally would do, and Tessa, you might have a different way of doing this as well, but what I personally have done in the past and would do now still to this day is, if there are people, like we create in our what Tessa and I teach, we teach a hot list. And so you create a hot list, and your hot list are like the blogs you want to be on, the podcasts you want to be on. And I would always say, don't go for like only the top 10 blogs in your space, right? Like they got 1 million people. Those are going to be harder to get. Maybe have 2 of those people on your list that you're actively pursuing, and actively pursuing a relationship with them. But you don't want everybody to be at this height. You want some people who have 1,000 followers, 500. Why? Number one, typically those followers are probably diehards if they're continuously coming in and listening. So they're going to really be hearing it. Number two, they will be more likely to want to have you on the show, because they're not at a place yet where they're being bombarded by 100 different people all the time. They're at a place where, wow, that's actually a great idea. I'd love to bring this type of value to my audience. And that's so, and so what you would do is you create that hot list, and then you're going to start sharing things from them. So for example, if there's a podcast and they're on the same platform, like your Facebook or Instagram, you might share some of their tips in your stories, or you might do a shout out to them like, hey, I was listening to this. So it's a lot like creating a friendship and a relationship, right? We don't just we are very much, you provide value before you ask, right? Like when I think of Jesus, he like healed people and then he brought the good news. He wasn't like, no, first you listen to me and then I'll help you out. Like that's not how it worked, right? And so it's the same thing. It's like you provide the value, you show them like, hey, I'm here to serve you and your audience. And then it comes back and you reap
reciprocity.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I love what Kai said. You share some items from them, like, comment, and share. Those are kind of the big ones from the person who's running the podcast. And if you do it in we have the C method, and I know Mary, you're familiar with this, but you do it every day. You're kind of going back, maybe not to just 2 people, but you're coming back in and consistently liking the next couple posts or like in the next podcast, like that shows to somebody, even if they're super busy, they're going to see this repetition of this person coming up in their feed. So if you did it, for 3 weeks of just random, not day after day, if you wanted to give it some, not seem too stalkerish. And I call it like social stalking, but it's appropriate social stalking. It's not,
it's sharing the love.
It's sharing the love. It's getting to know them. And then also you mentioned stories, and this is a big one. It used to be, especially on Instagram, that your messages kind of just went to an inbox, right? So if you message someone, it's just an inbox, you get lost in the inbox. Stories were unique. If you're commenting on a story, it was going directly to their messages and it wasn't getting caught in a filter. So now that they have more commentings available on almost all stories now, I think it's always at the bottom, and no matter what type of story you use, when you comment, it actually shows a picture of what their story was that you were commenting on. So you go to their page, you look at their stories, and you can tell what stories are live with the rainbow that's around the picture, profile picture. So it has to be within that 24 hours. It's only good for 24 hours, but you click on it, you comment on their post, it goes directly to their inbox, and it shows the picture of what they posted. So they see themselves in it. So, it gets opened and viewed a lot more. But that's one way, and that's my secret way. If you're in Instagram or if you're on Facebook, obviously the Messenger. If you're not a friend yet, it's going to go to a different place. So, try to become a friend, try to follow the page, do as much of that as you can. Over on LinkedIn, you can actually find commonalities, people who are common friends with that person that you want to get to know. Right. So your second connection, right? So if I know the person you want to get to know, you can have an intro where I introduce you because I'm connected with them, or you can say, hey, I saw that you and I both, Tessa's our friend. Then you can come from a place of like a commonality.
Yeah. And so I just want to add 2 things to that, LinkedIn and like blasts. So for LinkedIn would be a great place for you in terms of finding podcasters and bloggers, because they would have that in their title. So that would be, or parenting coach or things like that. You're going to be able to find them more easily by, depending on where you are right now. But that's a great place to connect with people and start creating those relationships. So it's not only, hey, if I'm on Facebook, then I have to like all their posts here. Like it could be that you are starting the conversation over on LinkedIn, you're nurturing it over there, but you're also, showing some reciprocity on the other side of that, right? Now, the other thing, what I was saying was like blasts. I'm sure there's a better way to say it, but what I think of it is, if you're on Instagram, I don't know how Facebook does it. I think on Facebook, it would be just where it shows like the activity, but in Instagram, it has the heart. And it'll be red, right? It says, oh, somebody, you got some activity. And then when you click on it, it will show you everyone who's liked, followed. But what I call a like blast is people who have liked like 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's like, so-and-so like this, so-and-so like, and it's the same person over and over again. That will always, 100% of the time, always get me to go to their page.
You're like, what are you doing?
Every day, but I think it's a great strategy, especially. And all of this is a strategy, guys. I think you should definitely be genuine. Never follow someone that you wouldn't actually enjoy sharing their stuff. Don't follow them just to get onto their platform. Like, be genuine about the relationships you're building, because these could be people that you do life with at some point. So don't don't get into somebody's world that you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this person again. Like, be there with somebody that you're like, I would love to have lunch with you. I would love to chat with you, because that's really a part of our business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you think of that, though, if I were doing this as a strategy, then I would have all the like blasts, and I would be sharing there. So I would have shared something of theirs to my post, like my stories, and then I would have liked it. Then they would have came to my page. They might have checked out my stories. They would have seen, like, so there's a very strategic strategy of getting seen, and that kind of just puts you in their mind, and they may not move forward, but now they're going to recognize your name. So when you strategically, hey, there's another post that they posted, you're like, oh, that's such good advice. Like, yeah, I like that. They're going to see that. Right.
Yeah.
So that's something I would say too, to think about those things. Like LinkedIn, even though you may be targeting moms or parents, that's one audience, but your other audience is the people you want to collaborate with.
Mm-hmm.
The people whose
Exactly.
audience you would like to borrow, you'd like to nurture, you'd like to bring value to. That's the other audience. And those are great to find on LinkedIn.
Well, and they're good because they have many people that you're going to get access to, instead of just being one off with the parents. You'll have an opportunity to get in front of a lot more people. So a lot of people, and Mary, you might be in the same boat, like, how ready do I have to be to go on a podcast, or how much do I have to have on my profile? Some people are going to judge by numbers, but there's a lot of people who judge by value in the content. So they don't have to see a ton of posts. They just want to know that what you put out is going to be very authentic, real. You're a good speaker if you're going to be on a video, right? Or a podcast. They want to hear your voice. So my recommendation, if you're brand new, is at least get some posts up that are you talking, just like what you did today. You did an awesome job describing the app. Like, go ahead and record a video of yourself talking about the app, post that, create some content, just giving people tips. And then you can have, you don't have to have a ton. I've gotten on with only a couple posts because clearly I don't have a huge audience and I don't care to, but you will attract a person based on you and your numbers. Of course, they want people that they can collaborate with. So you want to build your audience, but you don't have to have that to get started or to get your first interview, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, does that help?
And sorry, I just want to make sure one more thing, because I do think that this is important. And this is where a lot of people drop the ball, is so you work so hard to create those posts. You work so hard to get in front of other people's audiences. And then they come back and maybe they're following on social media, but you don't have a next step for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have a way to nurture them. So I really want you and anyone who's watching this to really consider, how do you nurture them? You should have a funnel that is really speaking to that nurturing, because what happened, and this happened in the beginning of my career, and it makes me sad all the time, because I would get so many people into my funnel, but I had no way to nurture them. So they would just go cold.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So thinking of, and it's like, I could have nurtured them. I just wasn't intentional about it. I didn't really think of it. I was more about like, let me get the emails, and then not thinking that, okay, so if I'm not starting to sell for a year, they're going to forget who I am. Like, I didn't put two and two together. I was just like, grow the email list, everyone says to grow the email list. I grew the email list, and then they forgot about me a year later, and nobody opened their emails because they're like, who's spamming me right now? Like, they had no idea who I was. So it's really, what is that next step? Be very intentional about that. So as you're doing this, it's not that you have to build everything out at once, but keep in mind that there should be something there. And so start to think about that, because when you go on podcasts or blogs, this is your opportunity to create a lead magnet that will bring people to you, but we don't want it to be for nothing. So you don't want to bring them to you, and then it's like, okay, now what? I'm just stuck in this email prison. What do I do now? Like, you want to bring some value to them at that point.
Yes. And I know we have to go because we're at the bottom of the hour, and we get half an hour. So I am going to put a link into the chat. It's our Power Funnel Lab. And Mary, we'd love to have you there. It is free, completely free. In fact, you cannot buy when you come to this. So you're going to sign up, and then there's a call that we do with you to make sure it's a good fit, because we want people who are at the same place in their business. We can all work through. It's a doing workshop. You're going to implement. You're not just going to find out about problems that exist in your funnel or how to nurture. You're going to actually start doing it. So awesome. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Mary. We hope that was helpful. And we, thank you. Well, and you've been with us in Move to CEO. Before I let you go, is there anything, I mean, can you just share what it's like to work with us? Because maybe people don't know, and we can tell them, but they're not probably going to get the same.
Oh, Tessa and Kai are the best. I have learned so much from them. I'm always taking notes, but they also give you notes. They follow up, and they're just so friendly. You know, like for somebody like me, I'm such a novice at this. I just love their friendliness and their acceptance and all their wisdom. It's been great. I love working with them.
Oh, thank you, Mary.
I'm blushing. Thank you so much, Mary. We will see you. And I am putting the link to Mosaic. It's mosaicgroups.com. If you want to go sign up to get early access so you're first in line, go over there and check it out.
Oh, wait, and where do we follow you? Or is it Instagram or Facebook?
Facebook at this point. I thought Facebook. Well, I'm not real good at this yet.
It's okay. You're just starting. I just want to know because that then we can just kind of start like social stalking as Tessa was doing earlier. Right. Okay.
Yes. Is that the website? Did I get that right?
Mosaicgroups.com.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. But I will put it in the chat after we do this recording. You'll have that link right there handy. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We will see you all next week, 10 a.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Thanks. Bye.